So before we begin, I just want to introduce myself. So my name's Dami, and I'm one of the directors of Acumen 360. And just to inform you, Acumen 360 is a platform where we hope to inspire the next generation. And essentially, what we want to do is we want to pass on the things that we've learned, at this stage of our careers, our businesses, and the different ventures we're doing, and we want to pass on all of that to the next generation so they don't have to wait as long as we did to get this information. They don't have to wait or go through the things we did to know exactly what it is they need to do. Having been with other communities and seen how others operate. Other communities, what you see is that they teach the young ones and they teach them in the ways of finance, in the ways of business, in the ways of entrepreneurship. And the whole reason for this platform is to provide that for the next generation. So that's me. That's Acumen 360. I'm also alongside a very entertaining gentleman by the name of Simply Andy. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, man. Say. Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, it's Andy, Simply Andy Sarfo, MC extraordinaire, entertainer, husband and father, man. Yeah, that's who I am. What do I do? As I said, I entertain every so often. And yeah, I'm quite passionate about young people. Also an educator as well. I work in a school. I work with young people by way of as a behavior specialist. They call us behavior specialists. I work in a pastoral capacity. So anything to do with young people and kind of raising their profile and increasing their capacity and their ability to achieve, I'm always going to be involved. So I'm in here to ask Emmanuel as many questions as possible, to try to pick his brain under the hood, and just see how we can serve our community. And as Dami rightly said, it's about having that information to provide it to the ones that come after us, because if we don't prepare for the ones that come after us right now, by the time they are supposed to kind of be in post and in power, it might be too late. So they need to be prepared right now. So it's about finding that information to prepare the next generation today. Jeez, that was bars, bloody. Yes. So that's me. That's me.
So thanks, Andy. So myself and Andy, we're the co-hosts, and tonight, as we said, we have a special guest for you. So I saw this brother just popping up out of nowhere on social media. I was seeing him, with his on Instagram. I don't even know how I got to see him or know him, but that's how social media is, I guess. And then I just kept seeing him again and again and again and again until I actually got the chance to meet him. And my gosh, did he spit some wisdom that evening? I've got the videos. I'm just saving it. One day I'm just gonna drop them on the gram.
Nice.
It was just really cool, down to earth. So in his bio, he empowers people on a financial level. From a financial perspective, with any financial decisions that you have, he helps people to build generational wealth. He's a wealth advisor. If you know what that means he's working with people with high net worth.
Like me, guys. It's out now, like me.
So he's a wealth advisor. He helps with money management. He's a motivational speaker. He facilitates workshops. Unfortunately, Corona has put a little bit of a span for now, but he'll be back. So that's kind of why we're doing these kind of live sessions. But he's also a TV personality. So he's an expert on Save Well and Spend Better, which is a show that you can catch on Channel 4. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce our guest for tonight, Emmanuel Asuquo, also known as the E-Man Effect.
Come on.
Much. I love that intro. That was sweet, man. I feel good already.
Nice.
And he's also brought a special guest along with him, who goes by the name of King. So King, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Okay, King is he's a designer extraordinaire according to the E-Man effect. So that's about as much as we know about him. But we are glad to have you on, and thank you for being on with us. So I
We're
guess should we
content
get into it,
specialists
Andy?
here as well.
Well, yeah, E-Man.
Andy,
I think
Andy.
I think it would be good to kind of start with your journey and
Yeah.
where you've come from, because obviously there's loads of people that are like experts,
Come on.
they are specialists.
Yeah.
Like what's your journey been like? Where have you come from and how did you get here?
It's a good question. I guess if I to really talk about where I come from, I grew up in Tower Hamlets, East London. I lived in a small place called Limehouse, and Limehouse is very close to Canary Wharf. And I used to look out on my window from my council estate and see the Barclays building, the HSBC building. Those are the two buildings I could see from my side. And I used to think to myself, right, I want to be in those buildings. And what drew me, people say, what drew you to financial services? Listen, in my house, my mum always used to make us, if you leave the kitchen, who left the light on in the kitchen? It was a big thing. Like, who left the light on here? Who left the light on there? And so when I look out at night and see these big, big buildings, all the lights are still on, I said, nah, there must be money over there. Like, they must be making money because they're leaving the lights on. I can't even leave one light in the kitchen. These are like 50-something floors of lights on. I said, nope, that's for me. That's where I need to be. And so I had a desire to want to be working in those buildings. And so I went to a school called Bow Boys, not a very good school at all. Didn't get a great education. In fact, to even get into my college, my head of year had to write a letter to my college for them to allow me to even do the course because my GCSEs were not that great. I got into college, Leighton Sixth Form College, where I met someone who happens to be on the call right now, my big bro, Andy. And we laugh, but Andy's a very big, important part of my journey, and he always tries to play it down like he's not, but he's a very, very big, important part of my journey, just in life in general. He's always been someone that's always inspired me. He's always taken me under the wing, always been there, giving me advice from, I met Andy when I was 16. Do you know what I mean? And look, we're a lot older than 16 now.
Bro,
do you know what I mean?
We don't. Some of us don't have our cane rolls anymore.
Come on, we've got a long way since then. Do you know what I mean? And the reason I bring that up, especially being young, is that who are the people that are around you? Like, who do you surround yourself with? I am a person that's always been able to spot talented people or people who I know can push me, and I always try and keep those people close. I always try and keep them close, and I always try and learn from them. I think a big thing I'll tell any young person is if you see someone doing well, try and learn one thing or two things from that person and add that to yourself. And you'll see over time how much you develop as a person. And Andy's someone that I've definitely, when it comes to, look, now I talk in front of people. He's been doing this from, when I tell you what we used to do in college, the confidence that he had in college, there's a reason why he does what he does now. It didn't start today or the last week. He's been building and developing himself from a long time. And so everything he gets now, a lot of the time we'll look at the outputs and say, I wish I could do, but we don't understand the inputs that it takes to get the output that we see. So I just wanted to big up Andy because he's very, very, very special to me, very important to me in my life. And I just wanted to big him up. But moving on from there, I went to university, Greenwich University, did a degree in accounting and finance. But I soon quickly realized, number one, when you're 18 in my parents' house, once you turn 18, my dad said you have to get a job. There's no, if you don't get a job, you come out the yard. That was the flex. So I got a job in Marks and Spencer's in Canary Wharf because it's around the corner from where I live. And I was working there and I was doing my degree part-time in Greenwich University. And I soon realized that, you know what, this degree thing is not even for me. Like education, I'm struggling. I'm literally at university because of my parents. Because when you're African, from age, they talk about uni. I thought you go from primary school straight to uni, the way they talk about uni. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm there for them. I'm picking a course for them. I don't want to be there. So I knew I wasn't going to get the best grade. So I said to myself, I need to get experience. So I used I used my experience at Marks and Spencer's to get a cashier job at Barclays. And I got a job at Barclays and I worked as a cashier part-time while I did my degree. But I worked harder than everybody else there. I was working 3 days a week and I was hitting target more than people that were there 5 days a week.
Wow.
And so because of that, when I finished my degree, they said, what job do you want? What job do you want?
Wow.
And I said, I wanted to be a financial advisor. And they said, go. At 22, I was made a financial advisor. I was the youngest financial advisor in Barclays. After I finished my qualifications, first day, qualified, top floor, Barclays building. I went to the top floor. I looked out. I couldn't even see my estate. I was so far high up. I couldn't.
Wow.
I knew what direction it was in.
Yeah.
And the point I say is to a young person is that is something that I said at 13 and 14 that I made reality at 22.
Mm.
And so don't ever underestimate the power in the words that you speak. You can speak blessings. You can speak the things that you want to achieve into your life. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take delayed gratification and missing out and sacrifice. But if you speak those words and you put the action, you can achieve it. And that's without the best education, without an older person to get me a leg in. That's just of hard work and determination. So that's how we kind of get here as a financial advisor. And then, yeah, we carry on.
I just want to pick a couple of things that I heard from your story. And the first one being, and remember our audience are, teenagers, so 13 to 17-year-olds. And one of the things you mentioned was you were going to uni specifically to really please your parents.
Yes.
It's not really something you want to do. And I feel like probably a lot of people go through that. A lot of people are, a lot of young people, we're almost doing things to please our parents and and not really for us. And, what would you say to a 13, 15, 17-year-old listening in today? How did you get through that? How did you battle through the fact that you didn't really want to do something, but you were doing it just to make your parents happy?
Just while you answer that question, I want you to also tell us, is that a bad thing or is that a good thing to do, to please your parents?
Good question.
Before you get into the meat of that. Of what
is it a good thing or a bad thing? I personally, and this is just me, I think I'm very respectful coming from I'm Nigerian and I've grown up in a very, very, very Christian household. Like my dad is very serious about church and got leadership in church. So for me, that whole parents thing is not. I had no choice. Like when you grow up and do something so much, there was no option other than to please my parents. Obviously, coming on the other side, I realized that actually there are people that are making a lot of mistakes focusing on our parents, because our parents sometimes are doing things for what they believe to be our good, but not having the knowledge or the experience to understand the big world that we're living in. And so the reason I say that is there are a lot of people with a load of degrees that still can't get a job. Do you understand? And they're working in jobs as receptionists or in McDonald's, and not to downplay other people's jobs and so forth. But you didn't need that degree to be doing the job that you're doing today. And so what I want to say is that for me, it's good to listen to your parents. But also, it's good to have, and this is what I really find important, to have mentors, especially at a young age, of people that have done things before. So you can compare and contrast. Like, you don't want to just have all your information coming from one source, because you only know what you know. Yeah.
Someone actually put in the chat. Just wanna just shout out Dirt McGriff, who says, "Nah, my mum said go uni or leave my house."
Trust me, it's that deep. It's that deep. And you know what? Remember, it's for them, because for them, university means that they've completed their job. That plaque, that picture that you take at the end of uni is in their house, on their wall. And when their friends come, they say, look, all my children done uni. I've done my job. And I understand that. But it's one of those things that the world has changed. Uni degrees don't do what they used to do. They don't open the same doors like they used to open. And so you have to be very specific when you go and get a degree. Like for me, I don't want to downplay no one, but business, when you do these general business, like what are you going to do with that? Like, what does that mean? And so it's one of those things that, yes, get a degree if you need it. Like if you're going to be a teacher, whatever, and these type of things, doctors, I understand there's certain lawyers, there's certain things that you need to do. But if you don't know what you want to do and you've got a passion in something, go get an apprenticeship, please. I'm telling you that a lot of people will come out of uni and work for people that got apprenticeships.
I've seen that happen. Yeah. 100%.
And so for me, it's important to know what you want to do. And also, when I did it, it cost £1,000. My first year cost £1,000. My second year cost £1,000. I saved for uni in the summer. I worked in the summer and paid for uni. When you're getting 15, 20K debt per year, you can't be doing that for somebody else. Because it's going to pain you every day you go to work. Every month you get paid and you see student loan. And remember, I was lucky. I got a third. Yeah, I got a third. But luckily, because I had the work experience through working in Barclays, they gave me the job I wanted anyway, and I was able to then do that. You go to uni, get 60, 65K debt and get a third class, you're finished. You're finished. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same world anymore. That's the problem. If you don't want to do something, you're not going to be motivated. When I had to do my professional exams, it's 70% pass rate. I knew I had to pass these. I passed all of them. Do you understand? I never got 70% before in my life. But when I knew that I had to get that so I understood that I wasn't bad at education. I just wasn't motivated because I thought I was gonna. Andy would tell you, I thought I was gonna play ball. I thought I was gonna be a basketball star. I was gonna play ball because I was up there. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I thought I was gonna do, playing sport and being really fast. So I didn't really take school seriously, education seriously. Wow. So again, these are the things that a lot of us do. I see it now with young people, footballers. And I got there's some young, talented footballers, but your personality stink. That's why you're not going to make it. Because nobody wants a bad... Look at Paul Pogba right now. All this, you're on this big wage. Nobody wants you on the pitch. It doesn't work. Like, yes, you can be a star. Yes, you can dye your hair, be on big money. But it's a team game. Sometimes we need to work on our personalities. We need to work on how we treat other people and learn emotional intelligence. A lot of these things we don't have. And these are skills that will make you money for the rest of your life.
So for a 13 to 17-year-old who probably is thinking, what are you talking about? Because I'm hearing everything you're saying, and obviously as someone who is 21 and over, now obviously I get it, and I think sometimes it's very easy to think about your 30-plus-year-old self and make sense to things that didn't make sense when you were 17, 15.
No, definitely.
Like, if you don't have the upbringing that you had, so where you're in a house where there's a man who is fully involved in church, where there's a mother who is actively involved in protecting a home and looking after a home, by her children, to go forth, to go to uni and all that stuff, and living the time right now. If you do not have those kind of things in place or support systems in place, like, what are you actually talking about all this advice? Like, how do I make sense of it? No, I'm not sure if you understand my question.
No, I totally understand. And again, it's about looking for the right type of person around you. Like I said, like, for example, and this is real talk, not real talk. If I came late to to college, Andy would be onto me. If we used to have a refractory. If I was in there,
that's a refractory.
Remember the refractory? We used to have the refractory. So basically, like, there was like a lounge kind of area, and the black people just took it over. So only we would go there. You know what I mean? Only we would go there. And if I was in there, Andy would be checking, and you got lesson, and you got. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? These are the people that are around me. So again, a lot of the time, who's influencing you? Because some of our friends are influencing us to miss our education and miss classes, and others are influencing us to be better and making sure we're accountable. So again, that's the people that you have around you. Then again, you want older people. So again, to me, Andy was older than me, and because I came from that African background, I respect those that are like, we have systems in place. Do you understand? I saw these days everybody's equal. Do you understand? In my day, when your elders talk to you, whether you like what they're saying or not, you had to listen. Do you understand? There was a certain respect. But these days, a lot of it's going, and we're losing our culture. But now, all of a sudden, Corona, and we're fist pumping, and we're shoulder, and we're doing. We've been doing that for how many years? And they were calling us weird. Now everybody's doing it. Do you understand? And there's some things in our culture that we're letting go that we need to keep. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And so, again, it's about finding it. If you haven't got it at home, try and find it. Do you know what I mean? And don't allow the drug dealers or the money or these type of things be your influence.
Oh, as an African, there's a saying
Yeah.
which says it takes a village to raise a child.
Exactly.
And also, you could take a donkey to the river, but you can't force the donkey to drink.
Exactly.
Now, I'm saying to you, are we living in a time where we have to be forcing donkeys to drink? Because I don't think that.
No.
I don't think that they are. I'm just going to be very, very weird, and I'm going to say I don't think the donkeys right now are responsible enough to be given the opportunity to drink when they want to drink. Even when they're thirsty, they're not drinking.
No, exactly. But what we're not doing.
But do you get it? Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, yeah, but I feel like what we do need to do is show more examples that we know young black men that are doing well, or black women that are doing well, and we're not celebrating them. We're not saying it. We're not talking that example. Do you understand? And so let's talk about other communities. So when I speak to my Asian friends, a lot of them know they're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. That's their thing. They will tell you that's our thing. You understand? So whether or not I need my parents, so I know this is our thing. This is what we do. When we speak to Jewish community, a lot of them finance, accounts. These are their things. What we need to start doing, is having our thing. So what do we do? What do we do as a people that we know? Whether that be property, whether that be investing, whether that be business, what are the things that we are saying that we do as a people, and how are we celebrating it so that young people can see people that look like them, that come from their backgrounds, that are doing well?
I want to go back to your story, and you mentioned, so you've answered that question about making sure you have someone who can mentor you, someone who's maybe a little bit older than you, is a bit further ahead, and can continue to guide you. But you mentioned a couple of things which I want to make sure it is recognized in what you said. You mentioned in your story that you were in uni, and you got a cashier job. You were doing 3 days a week, and you were outperforming individuals who are working full time.
Yeah.
Now, there's a principle there. That's the principle of hard work.
Yeah.
How were you able to at such a young age, how were you able to get that principle into your mind that this is what you need to do in order to get to where you want to go?
Again, and it's a great question, and the biggest thing for me was my personality. So what happened is that, and this is why I talk about your character. Yes, you can have talents and skills, but are you a person that people can buy into? Because people buy people. And so what happened is that because of my personality and the way that I was, the branch manager really liked me. And so I used to come late. I was, when the branch manager likes you, they don't even, when they cuss everyone, they just leave you because they just like you as a person. But then one day he pulled me up, and he was an Asian Bangladeshi guy, and he was maybe 5-6 years older than me, and he was a branch manager, which was unseen at the time. And he used to tell me, being on time is being late. And when he told me that, it kind of resonated. I was like, because obviously, when you get the job, work starts at 9, you only get paid from 9. So even though they used to do team meeting, I used to say, but you know what, we don't have to be there for the team meeting. We're not getting paid for the team meeting. So I'm getting there at 9. But then, you stopping at the coffee shop and maybe get your breakfast. So by the time you've got all that, you're getting in about 9:05. You're walking in with the customers. You know them. So he told me time is being late. So what I did was, because he said that, I changed my watch and the clock at home in my room to be half an hour. I put it half an hour early. And then also I tried to get everywhere half an hour early. So what happened is I was getting places 1 hour early. Now, because of that, I used to get to the branch an hour early. The only person that's there is the branch manager. So he was so impressed that I listened to what he said. He then told me about like my one-to-one, how I can develop. I used to have that before the branch opened. So he would tell me books that I should read. He would tell me things that I could do. He would tell me tricks in regards to how he developed and so forth. And that was me listening to what he said, but I got that development. So I was able to outperform people that were acting normal. And the biggest thing I learned is if you want to get what others don't have, you have to do what others are not prepared to do.
So what kind of books was he suggesting to you then, out of interest? Get a nice little book list going.
Nice book list. So obviously for me, the big ones were like the booklets in the bank. So in the banking hall, you'd have books on credit cards and savings. So I would actually read them to learn what this stuff is. So then I could be able to explain it to customers. So that was it. But then there was books like, books that I read when I was young was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Richest Man in Babylon, Who Moved My Cheese. Listen, that book is so small.
Great books.
That book is mind changing. Who Moved My Cheese. So those are the 3 books that I read, and I just held them in, and whenever I had the desire to go do something that normal people were doing, I'd remember something from one of those books and say, no, I'm different. And I'll move different. And so that's what really helped me to then become a financial advisor at 22, when all my peers, the youngest financial advisor in my team was 44, double my age.
Wow.
And then the oldest was like 55. And these are my peers. We earn the same salary. We're doing the same job. So, and I'm giving advice to people that are 65, 70, 80.
Wow. So that kind of segues into my final question from your story, and then I'll let Andy ask any questions that are coming through on the live. 22, and you're the youngest financial advisor in Barclays. This is not just some small bank. This is Barclays, right? What was that like?
It was.
Come on, be honest. Was there some whenever
Emmanuel's real, man. Come on, give it to us, man.
It's the imposter syndrome. You're like, I don't deserve to be here.
Okay.
I've got this job. Like, are they gonna clock? So you're working harder. But I had a great manager. To be honest, like I said, I didn't have a great education. So one of the things that really hurt me was we had to write reports. I didn't realize how bad my spelling and grammar was until I had to write reports. So now all my reports, luckily my manager was understanding, and so he would check my reports and then put things in place because my spelling was bad. So I had to learn to read stuff out loud. I had to relearn grammar, where you should put a comma, when it's all these type of things that I've managed to get to 22 without knowing. There are people that have had proper education that by 15 they've already learned this stuff. I'm relearning this on the job, giving advice and so forth. So again, are you teachable? That's the one thing I tell a young person: be teachable. A lot of young people, we've just got a thing in our head that tells us that no one can tell me nothing, and I know what I'm doing. But the ones that achieve the best are teachable. Be teachable, and what that means is have a mind to say, I'm ready to learn. Even if I don't agree with what someone says, let me try and understand why they're telling me that, and see is there anything I can take from the things that I hear. And so it was daunting, but once I learned, I used to shadow everyone. So I found the best advisor, the number one advisor in my team, the one that was achieving the most, and I said to my manager, I want to shadow him. So I spent the first month going to every single appointment that he went to. Then I used to go around the other ones as well, and I'll do their file. We do the same job, but I'll book their meetings, I'll do calls for them, just to understand what systems do they put in place, how do they speak to their clients, and learn from all of them. And then I created my own style, and within 3 months, I was doing the same amount of business as all of them.
Wow.
So for somebody coming from the area you're from, obviously East London, how and you also mentioned culture. Obviously you're living in a Nigerian house, so you have a culture there. And you come out of a Nigerian house into I'll say a predominantly Asian community. So that's a different culture there. You're also from the UK, so then that's a different culture there. Where do you get this culture of hard work and grit from? Because at some point I'm giving up. if I'm, do you know what I mean? At some point, this is long. Do you know what I mean? And I could imagine a 13, 14-year-old just thinking, this is long. Because I've heard it in schools. I work in school. I've heard it in school. You get a piece of homework, you don't get it. This is long. Sir's getting on my nerves. Blah, blah, blah. Where are you finding this attitude and this culture? Where are you building this new attitude and mentality from? How are you building this?
Like I said, I read the books, and one of the big things I took from the books is, what's my why? And when I was young, like Andy knows, I used to play ball, so I used to go to basketball camps in the summer. And obviously, you ask an African dad for money for a basketball camp, you might as well have swore. That don't mean nothing to him. That don't mean nothing. He's upset. You want me to give you money to go and play? It doesn't register in his head at all. And my mum, who was a dinner lady, used to do extra shifts to get me money so I could go to these basketball camps. And them times, this is like £150. I don't feel like them times £5 is a lot of money. Do you understand?
Sorry, shout out to mums, by the way.
Come on, mums,
mums.
So
happy Mother's Day. You know that. Like, so for me, my mum sacrificed. Like, I see what she did for me, and she didn't have to, because like you get used to not having. So when you can't go, you don't expect to go anyway. So but she would always try and get the money, because she like, I know you love this basketball. You and this basketball, go and play, go and do it. It's your thing. And so for me, it was like, when I get the chance to make money, I'm gonna make money not just for me, but to make sure that Mumsy's comfortable as well. Do you know what I mean? And so when I had to wake up early, it wasn't just for me, it was for my mum. And now I'm older, I've got kids, I've got a wife, so I've got even more motivation to get up and go. And one thing I tell a young person is, know your why. Like, really understand why you're getting up. Because when you understand your why, in the hard days, when it's raining, when it's cold, when you're tired, your why will keep you going. And that why is the reason why I can't be out hustled. It's the reason why I can't be outworked. Do you understand? Because I understand my why, and I hold it to my chest, and I write it down, and I view it all the time, and I re-go over it and re-remember all these stories that I'm telling you now. I play them all the time to remind myself of where I'm coming from. Because sometimes we can get comfortable. I'm in Bromley now. Bromley's nice. Come on.
Upgrade. Upgrade of the century. Do you know what I mean? I'm in Bromley now. Man don't even see crime. Do you know what I mean? Like, man don't even. Do you know what I mean? I'm far away. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't see crime.
Like, man's calm. Do you know what I mean? Like, Bromley is calm. Like, you just come home late, no issue. Like, compared to like when I'm coming from, like, you're nervous. Like, if you get to Mile End at 9 o'clock, you're shook. Mile End at 9 o'clock, and you gotta wait for a bus. It's a nervous time. So coming now, like, I don't look over my shoulder anymore and so forth. So you can get comfortable and forget your why, because you're comfortable. So I always have to remember where I come from. And that's what stops my attitude. That's what stops me having an ego and feel like, because I'm making a little money now, I can talk to people anyhow, or I can act anyhow. Because I remember that man came from a room full of cockroaches. You understand? Man knows where man comes from. Do you understand?
If you're talking to your 13-year-old self, what? Obviously, you sound like you had your head screwed on, which for me is an anomaly. Like, there's probably, I don't know, I'm gonna be bold and say there's probably 30 or 40% of people at the age of 13 who have their head screwed on, who are not going to be the last one to jump off the treadmill, who are going to turn lemons into lemonade, who are going to turn the bricks into walls. Do you know what I mean? You sound like you had your head screwed on. So what I'm going to say is, if you were talking to a 13-year-old Emmanuel who didn't have his head screwed on, obviously you've mentioned about the books and so on and so forth. What kind of practical things would you give them to kind of get themselves prepared for a life in Bromley?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was, I know I told you I read them 3 books, but that was it. I didn't read enough. I think the best thing about reading, and why reading is so important, like my kids, I get them to read enough. The best thing about reading is, like I said, you only know what you know. And you see, when you read, you understand the world that maybe you don't live, but now you know something that you didn't know before. And it allows you to now believe in more. It allows you to look for something further, something past where your position is. So to me, reading is just so important. I think the second thing I would say is understand how you learn. So a big thing for me is that the school system made me feel like I wasn't clever. And that's a lie. It's not that I wasn't clever. I just didn't understand, or I didn't learn best the way that I was taught at school. And there are other ways to learn. So understand the ways that you learn best. Now we got mobile phones and all of these type of things. You can, if you're a person that's more sound and listening than you are writing, you can put on a dictaphone on your phone and record your lessons and listen back to them afterwards. And I don't think no teacher would be angry if you had your phone face down and had the dictaphone listening in lesson. You know what I mean? And so there are now other ways for you to learn. You've got the internet and online. So learn how you learn, not how they tell you must learn it, how you learn. And that will definitely help. And then finally, plan. You have to have a plan. Too many of us we're not, I always say we're not living, we're being lived. Do you understand? We wake up at the same time every day. We go to the same destination. We eat the same food. We come home. We go to watch the same things on TV, go to sleep, and then we live it again. And so that's not living. You're being lived. And so what I want you to do is live. And the only way you can really live is if you have a plan on what you're doing. So you're living towards something. Too many of us are just going through life and letting life live us. And we're just being swayed left and right. And challenges will come. But if you've got a plan, you're working towards something, you're so much more likely to achieve your goals.
From your perspective as a financial advisor, what should a teenager be doing in terms of preparing for their financial future, or building their financial future, building their financial as they say? What would you?
Just to add a little tag onto Dami's question. Do I have enough money as a teenager to even be thinking about these things? Yeah. Let me just give you that before you get into Dami's meat, please.
Yeah, I think for me it's about principles. Okay, in your teenage years you learn the principles. Okay, so if I always tell people tell me they want to be a millionaire, but they can't even manage £10. You understand? So if you can't manage £10, why would you be able to manage £100 or £1,000 or 10,000? Do you understand the principle? So it's not about the amount of money, it's about the principles. If I know that I have £10 and I'm of that £10, I'm gonna put X amount away. And I always say, if you put 10% of whatever I get, I try and give to charity. 10%. All right. I then say, look, of the remainder, when I was young, I wish I knew this principle. These are stuff that I've learned as I've got older. But then I say, okay, if 10%'s gone, then what I try and do is pay myself 40%. I want to give remember when you're young, you ain't got bills and all of this. You understand? This money is yours pretty much. Whatever you're getting is yours. So if you can pay yourself, you've got this money, however, whether it's pocket money, whether it's a part-time job, whatever it may be, pay yourself a percentage of the money that you get. And then of the 50% that's now left, you can then decide what you want to do with that. Do you know what I mean? And so by doing that, these are the basic principles. And you can cut those numbers however you want. You might say, actually, I've got no bills, whatever. I want to save 70%, give 10% away and spend 20. That's up to you. Or however you want to chop it up. But the point is to understand the principles and understand the fact of the difference between what I need and what I want. The difference, understand principles like delayed gratification, understanding that if I put money away today and save that, it will benefit me in the future. So I'm not just going to live for the here and now. And if you understand these principles when you're young, when you then start to make money later on, see how your money will grow.
Nice. And when you say pay, so that 40%, when you say pay yourself, is that paying myself as in that's money for me to spend however I want, or is that money for bills? What does that pay myself?
Pay yourself is just like how you pay tax. You pay tax, that money's gone. Pay yourself is putting that money away and saying, that's my money to stack, that's my money to save.
Okay.
That money is to build. I'm paying myself.
Okay.
Just like I pay tax, just like my hours that I've put in, my work has paid me. Because what happens now is you work all these hours at work, you get paid, and then what you do is you spend it all. So you've got paid, but you haven't paid yourself. And so that's why at the end of the month, it doesn't even get to it, probably like the 15th, 17th of the month, you're sweating. You're nervous. You don't know if you can go out, if you can come home. You don't do nothing. Do you understand? You're nervous. You're doing potluck. You're touching your card and you're praying that it goes through. Accepted. This is how you're living. Do you understand? These are principles that we needed to learn a long time ago. And what I'm saying by pay yourself is to say, I understand that I'm not going to spend all of my money because I worked hard for it. I need to give myself some of that and understand that I have a tomorrow and I need to put some of that money away for my tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. So obviously when we were in school, we were in college, they had something called EMA. I don't know if you caught on to that. Catch that.
Yeah.
Shout out to everyone who was in London who called that EMA burstment, that burstment thing. Come on,
hey man, to go college more.
So listen, I can't even. Oh, someone just suggested a book. In fact, no. Well, Emmanuel, you mentioned as well. Someone said periodic motion. He said richest man in Babylon is a thing, is a vibe.
Yeah,
still.
I told him. That's what I said. That's the first book I ever read.
Yeah. You mentioned it.
Book I ever read, richest man in Babylon.
So EMA, how much was that? What was that? Was that £25?
Like £30, £30.
Okay, like let's say at the end of a term, let's say you got paid £120 a month.
Yeah.
As a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Can you break down to me how you would split that money up?
All right. First of all, I would work out what are my costs. So I know that the EMA was meant to help in regards to getting you to college in the first place. So there might be travel costs that I might have. But remember them times we used to get a pass, no? That used to give us a discount and so forth. And some people didn't have to pay for travel and so forth. But let's say you did have to pay travel costs, so you'd make sure that you paid that so you could get to college, because that's why you got the money in the first place. And understand whatever cost that there may be. Like you said, if you can't bring in food, then you're buying lunch. What does that look like? So make sure all of them things are done. So those are your fixed costs. So you make sure that those are out of the way. Now, with the remainder, what you're now doing is saying, what am I doing with the remainder? What most of us did was go Stratford and we were buying in them in-malls. Not like now, you lot got the other thing. We was in the in-malls and we were buying trainers and remember them time, and you remember certain man, if you wasn't right, when you come out JD, man are taking your bag straight. So you've spent man are taking your bag and telling you to jog on. Andy's laughing, he knows Stratford was mad them times.
Shout out to the Boss 69 gang.
Come on, it was crazy. So we were just wasting our money doing stuff. Do you understand? So it's about, yes, you might need trainers, and yes, you might want to buy trainers, but then have a little pot and say, of this money each month, I'm going to save £10 or £20, and once I've saved that up over a period of time, then I buy the trainers, and that's what we call about delayed gratification.
Right.
Rather than spend all the money right now, have a plan and save towards it, and then have some money that you're putting away for the longer term, like building up, because money gives you options. You see, right now, while people are fighting over toilet roll, people with money are buying shares at stupid prices.
Come on.
But if you ain't got money, you ain't got options.
Come on. Oof. Bars. No pun intended. If you know about options, you know how. If you know about options.
And I'm not pushing NSG. You know that one.
You know what? Listen, someone just said, shout out to Rex on Insta Live. You said CD bar, Stratford.
You remember CD bar was big, you know? CD bar, I used to get fair stuff from CD bar. Come on, $9.99.
Certain people left their house just to go and jam at CD bar, bro. Big up yourself.
Trust me, them were the days.
Listen, you know what? I'm really enjoying this. I think the key for me, or like takeaways, is just planning. I think that even becomes a problem in the future. That if you don't perfect as a young person how to plan, then you plan to fail. There's a quote: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Do you know what I mean? That kind of. Yeah. And it's like there's even older people, mature people who, because they didn't invest in that time invest that time in planning and having an idea, an image of what kind of lifestyle you want. It, you know, loads of mistakes were made that probably didn't need to be made, you know. And I don't want, you know, our listeners or people watching in or whatever to just feel like we're only talking to 13 to 17-year-olds. I mean, you know, every shop has their target audience, but it doesn't mean that if you're a certain color, or a certain weight, or a certain height, or a certain whatever age, you can't wear their clothes. It's just how it is, isn't it? And just talking to, you know, a couple of, you know, mature people out there who are listening to Emmanuel's voice and thinking, actually, I'm actually not a planner, you know. I do get paid at the end of the month and money's kind of done. You know, Emmanuel's mentioned a couple of things. Now, the kind of segue question off what I'm just saying is, can it ever be too late? So, for example, you're in your 21s or whatever, or you're in your 20s and you didn't have a plan at 13, and now you're in a position where you get paid and you can't think about giving 10% to a charity or a church. You can't think about paying yourself 40% because by the time you realize 95% of it is gone. Can it ever be too late?
I want to tell you this, and you can tell me if it can be too late. There's a man called Warren Buffett. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of a man called Warren Buffett.
Come on.
This is who I read his books. This is, if you want to know who I look up to and who I will pay for his books, or if I listen to any bit of content with his name in it, is Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett made 98% of his money past the age of 50. So 98% of his money he made past after the age of 50. So what I'm telling you is that it's not an age thing. Your time is your time. And so sometimes I've seen people who are millionaires in their 30s and broke in their 50s. And the problem is that we're watching other people's lane. And you need to understand your lane and your time and what you're working towards. All right? Don't get me wrong. Warren Buffett was still a millionaire, even on that 2%. But now he's a billionaire. Multi-billionaire. This guy, when the markets went down, this guy lost like 20, like how many? I think it was like 20 billion or something like that. Off his thing went down. That's the type of money these man. He's lost 20 bill. That's mad. That's country's money. You understand what I'm trying to say?
That's a care package.
It's fun loss. That's country's money.
That's a care package.
You understand what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is that don't watch no one else's lane. Just because you haven't got a house by age 35 or 40, don't mean that you won't have a 20 big property portfolio by 50, 60. Do you understand? Don't watch no one's lane. Know what you're trying to achieve. Know where you're trying to go. Don't put an age to it. Yes, the earlier you start to put these principles in place, the better. No one can ever deny it. If I start saving in my youth, things like compound interest will definitely help my investment better than I have to put in less than someone that starts 20 years later. I get that. But that doesn't mean that you don't start at all and you just say, oh, I've only got 10 years. Use that 10 years because it's better to have something than nothing.
Someone just put a quote, one of your quotes actually, on Insta Live, says, if you ain't got money, you ain't got options, by Emmanuel. Yo, shout out to Rex, man. Big up yourself, Rex. So someone that says, for someone who doesn't know much about shares, how do we go about starting? Do you know anything? Is there anything that you can help on that?
Yeah, good question. So basically, the thing is that the information is out there, but it's just it's not going to make sense to you. Do you understand? Because it's a different language. But what you can do, there are companies like Free Trade. So I look at companies like Free Trade, Trading 212, that will give you little tips on how to get started. Even platforms like Hargreaves Lansdown will have their stuff in regards to their top shares or stuff like that. You can look at stuff like Bloomberg and these type of, and the Financial Times. Do you know what I mean? And they will give you ideas on things that are happening, and you can use your mind to research and so forth. If you haven't got the time to do that, then again, I help people in regards to getting from the beginning to start buying shares and then helping them on courses. These are things that I help, but obviously that's at a cost, so you got to know your pocket. But what I would say is that if you don't have it, you have to invest in yourself. The best investment you can make is in yourself. And what I'm trying to teach people is life skills. If you know how to invest in shares, how you're talking about buying stuff now that you know is down, and I'm talking holding that for your children's children. There are people now who are inheriting BT and all these company shares that their parents got for free. They bought for free. Do you understand? There are banks that got bought out and do own shares in Barclays and Halifax and these type of banks, because just because you banked with them, you got shares in these banks, and now you're able to pass that on. A lot of us, all we are going to pass on is Louboutins and Gele. The amount of Gele that we have is unbelievable.
You said Gele.
Gele.
You said Gele. Oh my God. Oh my God! Listen, that is funny.
Actually,
No, shout out to all the Gele gang.
You know the Gele gang.
All the Gele gang. Shout out to the Gele gang.
Nothing past them. Know them. But what have we really got to leave to our children? Do you understand? We've got wardrobes of Gele and clothing and cloth and we ain't got nothing. And this is why we're fighting over toilet roll. This is why.
Special shout out to Joshua Kowalafa who just popped in. Another CEO on the directors. Big up the games. Just another question. Blessings, Eman. What do you suggest we do to raise awareness to the Black community besides those who understand various whole life insurance policies, other financial investments and all that stuff? How do we, we're kind of moving away from our target audience, but I think because we're in like the last kind of 5-10 minutes of the thing, I think it will be fair to kind of advise our older lot this kind of stuff, isn't it? Are you all right with that, Dami? Yeah.
I think what's important with this is for us to understand that we are behind when it comes to these things, and that's planned. That's not our fault. There are hardly any other races that can be planted with nothing and build. We are so resourceful. They can give us nothing and we can make something. Okay, but what we have to understand is that, like, my clients that I see, they are already doing savings for their kids when their kids are born. They are already, so their kids they don't pay for university, they don't pay for their first car, they don't pay for their wedding, and they give them a deposit for their house. That's a different life. And this was planned. They're getting some of that's from their parents, some of that's from their grandparents. Do you understand? And so when we're talking about generational wealth, we have to understand that we may not see the benefits. Yes, I know I get arguments all the time. Oh, but if I'm saving for my children's children, what about me? I understand that. Enjoy a little, but understand that if we don't start leaving stuff that our children can build upon and giving them the education so they also understand how to build, that's another problem. But if we don't start doing that, we're always going to fall behind. We're always going to, and we're always going to have to do as we see now. Because I don't know if you saw a report the other day, when it comes to being made redundant or being in flexible working, we are the number one.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
We are, when the 0-hour contracts, we are the number one on these type of inflexible working. Why? Is that by accident? It's by design. Because we have to go to somebody else to get a job.
Yeah.
And until we start leaving stuff so we can actually start building, there are people, some of these CEOs, when they finish uni, they never had to go to work. Their parents said, listen, you got an idea, stay. Not only that, their parents and their parents' friends all pulled together to be the first seed plant in their business. It's a different life. This is what we have to create. And it means sacrifice on our behalf. It means that we might have to go on one less holiday. It means we might have to buy a car that's maybe 3 or 4 years old rather than brand new. But what that will mean for our children's children is the life that we see our peers living now.
Right now, with the current situation that's happening.
Yeah.
And for those who are entrepreneurs who are kind of struggling and trying to figure things out, obviously there's the government has put out certain things about how much money they're going to make available for self-employed people and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Like, what is your advice for a self-employed person who has earned all their money off contact with people.
Yes,
and now we're in social distancing. What kind of advice? Because I think King mentioned something earlier on is about what kind of opportunities we can find, at a time like this. So, what's your advice for the entrepreneur who, who's kind of finished on their kind of monetary streams at the moment?
Yeah, I think being honest, you know me, and I always talk about myself. I'm a man that makes money off events. I go to events, I give talks at events, and off the back of that, 3 to 4 people on average will then pay for a one-to-one off the back of it. So that's my model. That's what I've been doing, and that's what's been paying the bills and working. Now there are no events, so I get paid to talk, and then I get paid off the back of people that sign up. Now I've got no events. So what can I do? I can wallow, I can cry, I can complain. Or I can look at what can I get. So yes, look at what the government's prepared to give you. So whether that's universal credit, whether that's the 80% of salary. So if you've got a limited company and you've been paying yourself PAYE, you should be able to claim the 80%, from the government. So we're waiting for the government to bring out more details on that. But make sure you can claim what you can. Look at your outgoings. So if you know that you've got rent coming out or whatever and you can't afford these things, have a conversation with your landlord. They know what's going on, so they can't be acting like they don't know what's going on. And by the way, the government have made sure that you can't be evicted during this time. So have peace of mind.
That's not right. They didn't pass that. You can be evicted.
It didn't pass.
It didn't pass.
It didn't go through. Yeah. I saw an update today that they didn't pass it. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
Well, there's just quickly, a friend of mine spoke to me today and said that they managed to call their bank and their finance kind of streams, and they were able to pause the finance for self-isolation. So he's not paying his finance through self-isolating, and also his mortgage. I think it's called mortgage holiday. You're gonna have to do some. I don't know too much about that, but there's a mortgage holiday where he's got 3-4 months off, I think, where he's not having to pay any mortgage at present. And they've kind of added it onto
the end of the time.
So when he comes back, he'll pay, his monthly payment will go up slightly.
And
remember, all these things, it's not that you're not going to pay them, you're going to pay them. So you can still negotiate. Even your landlord, let's say your landlord. If your landlord kicks you out now, where are they going to get rent from? Who are they going to get in a time like now to replace you? So they're better off negotiating with you. You're still in a position of power, even if the government didn't put it through, because you're still in a position of power. You're in the house, you're there. Okay. If they kick you out, they're guaranteeing themselves no rent. Who is coming in? Who's trying to get a new house right now? Everyone's staying still till this thing's done. So again, you're still in a position of power. You're already in the house and you do have rights. So have a conversation. The problem is if you just don't pay and never told them you weren't going to pay, then it's a surprise. Then it's a shock. So you need to have that conversation. Do you know what I mean? And let them know, okay, I can't afford it this, but once I can or whatever. And also, but then like me, I've had to change my business model. I've had to now had to get myself Zoom and now do online meetings. I've been doing calls all day. I've been doing online meetings. I've been writing new webinars that I'm going to put out. I've been looking at what I can do as an online course. These are all streams. What skills do you have that people need that you're able to meet a need at this time? People are going to be consuming content right now more than ever before.
Yeah.
People are stuck in their house. They can't go out. And there's only so much TV you can do. They're going to be on Instagram. They're going to be on YouTube. They're going to be on Twitter. They're going to be on all these platforms. What can you do to grasp these new people who before may have just watched for 1 minute and moved on? But now they've got time on their hands. They're ready to give you 15 minutes and see what your content's saying. What are you giving them? What value can you add in this time? Because right now, these companies are doing free online courses. They're doing all this stuff. What can you add value to? Then secondly, people are still hiring. Even me, myself, I saw a job the other day. I said, you know what? I'll just apply. Why not? Like, you can't be too proud. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. Bro, you're broke. Let's just chill out. Like, let's get some money in and you could be an entrepreneur in the evenings and weekends. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, so if you know you wasn't prepared for this to happen, which a lot of people wasn't, then you might need to get a part-time job or get some other income to get you through this time until we get back to where we were before. Okay. But also use this time as an opportunity to evaluate, why don't I have an emergency fund? Why am I struggling? Do you understand? And how do I make sure that if I am struggling now, once I get out of this situation, how do I make sure I don't go back into it? This doesn't happen to me again. What are the things you can put in place? How have I been spending my money? Because you know what? Before this, there are a lot of things that everybody thought was important. Then we were fighting for toilet paper. Do you understand? How many times have you gone out and been upset that there was no toilet paper? There was no pasta. There was no rice. Yeah. Nobody ain't talking about. No one ain't talking about holidays. No one ain't talking about I need to upgrade my car. All of them things is not important right now. And so when we talk about needs versus want, this is a perfect time where you really understand, what do I need? Okay. And if you can learn at this time what you need, when now you are making money again and you live to what you need, all of a sudden you've given yourself and your savings an increase. Because now there's money left over. There's money to play with. And what do we say when you got money? You've got options.
Sure. What are your thoughts on government bonds? Number one.
Let me ask them one at a time. Government bonds are they're safe and secure, but interest rates are low. So I wouldn't necessarily say that's the place to go. Plus, the government just bought a whole bunch of them to put money into the economy. So I wouldn't necessarily that's the best place to go. Next one.
Cool. Next one is, would any of you be willing to go to a primary school to share your experiences? Because highly favoured Acumen has been trying to get more successful black people, especially black males, for kids in schools to see that they too can achieve.
Well, message me. I go to primary schools, secondary schools, universities, not for free though. It's my job. But once the isolation is over, that's what I do. I was at Cambridge the other day. Small plug. #1 university in the UK. I was given a talk there. So this is what I do. And it is important. When someone said about youth violence, it is important to have more of us out there. I think some of us think unless we're doing something completely spectacular, we can't go back and talk. But you don't know who your message is going to resonate with. So as long as you got a job and you're doing your thing and you're paying your bills, make sure you go back and talk and be an influencer and be a mentor to someone.
And just to plug in on that as well, obviously through the platform Acumen 360, we would love to come and come into schools and speak to primary school kids, secondary school kids, and we can go together. Emmanuel, Andy, King, we can all come and be an example. That's what this platform is there for. So yeah, please, just get in touch. Acumen 360, E-Man Effect, Simply Andy, whichever one, just get in touch and would love to do it.
Just as a financial advisor, E-Man.
Yeah.
Someone has asked MC Inks, which shares would you buy right now? I don't know if legally you're allowed to do this or we're allowed to have this on our platform, but which shares would you buy right now?
Yeah, no, people pay me for that one. I'm not, unfortunately, man, don't give that one for free. That's just nonsense.
He said, oh, there's loads of shares, but you got to pay to find out.
You want to pay to find out? That's my job. Like, think about it.
You got to. Oh,
you want me to give you knowledge so you can go and make money, and I don't make anything.
but I mean, for someone who's quite interested in shares and stocks anyway, personally,
yeah.
When this Corona thing started happening, I knew that Alibaba was something to look at. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell, but that's your business. But it was definitely something to look into. I saw that Bitcoin had dropped massively. So if anyone was interested in looking or researching on Bitcoin, now would definitely be a good time to just holler at it. Ethereum.
To clarify, you are not a.
I'm not. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I didn't say buy or sell. I'm saying look at
clarify as well. Just so.
No, I'm not a financial advisor. I didn't finish my exam.
I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not saying none of that.
Emmanuel's not telling you anything.
I'm not co-signing.
By the way, a few people have said Fitness by Blessing said book a consultation if you want to know which ones to buy.
I'm gonna tell that Blessing, tell them, man. Come
on. Someone said great live, Andy. Great live, guys. Someone also mentioned Disney might be a good something to look at. So you can
they launched their thing. We all got emails. They just launched their own platform. So again, these are things to look at, and these are things to hold for a long time.
Someone also said, "Thanks, guys. I'm super proud to be witnessing this Black excellence." Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing. Man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So just to wrap it up, this is Acumen Live Cast. This is our very first one. Thank you to our guests, Emmanuel Asuquo and King, who have joined us. It's been a very informative session, and look forward to dicing this up and getting this content out there. Emmanuel, just real quick, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, where do they go?
So we've got the social media, which is the Eman Effect, which is obviously TheEman Effect, EFFECT UK. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. The website, www.Emmanuel Asuquo, and Asuquo is spelled ASUQUO.com. And yeah, you can send emails to team@EmmanuelAsuquo.com. All right, and yeah, we're here helping, supporting people. We do group sessions as well. So even tomorrow, I've got a group of 15 people who've all paid each to go for a webinar to learn how to invest in funds. Next week, I've got a group of another 10 people who've put money together again to learn how to invest in shares. So like I said, people are seeing the opportunity in this time and want to make sure they can build for the future. So if that's you, we can do that. Get in contact. If you want to do one-to-ones, we do that as well. So yeah, we're here to help.
Excellent, thanks, Emmanuel. And we'll try and put it in the notes as well, for whatever platform we put it out on. Andy, thank you.
Thank you, man. My guy, as usual. Now, can I go and chop my banku now, please?
Please, let's go.
I just want to know that vegan is vegan banku with assorted meat.
Finally, guys, this is, like I said, Acumen Live Cast. Follow us on Acumen360_ on the gram, Facebook, Twitter, and we look forward to connecting with you. And if you found this super useful, subscribe, join, do whatever, share the content, and we'll look forward to the next session. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.